Hey girl, hey, it's IFBB Wellness Pro Emily Smith
and NPC Wellness competitor Elisabeth Sundin. Welcome back to the
Wellness Girlie Gang podcast. Hey girlies, we are back with a special guest, Miss Jaden Kassa. She is a friend of mine that I met this year. Actually, I've been following her for a long time. I would consider her a fitness influencer, wellness girly on her road to pro. She competed, a few years ago?
23. It was a while ago.
2023. It was a few years ago. Yeah. And she is just growing beautifully. And we just wanted to shout her out and bring her on our podcast so you guys could get to know her a little bit better. Jaden, tell the girlies that are listening who you are.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you both so much for having me. This is so exciting. But as Emily said, the last time I competed was 2023, and I was really small. I was real small. So it was, I got a new coach at that time right after my my last show too. So we decided I needed a lot of time to grow, and I had a lot of things I needed to fix. So kind of from there, I've documented this on social media, but really went on a huge gut healing journey at that point. My digestion was in shambles, to put it lightly, for 8 years prior. So we had a lot of work to do. That took the better half of 2024, and then midway through 2025, it's really just been about growing, and that's something I've tried to keep people really in the loop about on my Instagram and on my socials, just as like I still think of that as my diary, and in a sense. So it really gives me a place to be, a bit creative, and also I work really hard for the physique that I have. So giving myself a place to, document that progress has been really, really fun.
Yeah, it is kind of just like our journey. You can scroll back through and look at all the different shows and what you look like in season, off season. Honestly, let's just dive into all the things that you had to change, the gut health protocol, all of that, because that is a huge part of your journey. And that was one of the reasons why I started following you too, because I'm huge about gut health and I just want to always feel good in my skin. How's that journey for you? Just kind of talk us through it and take as much time as you need.
Yeah. So this dates back to when I was about 13 years old. So at that time, I started to have like a lot of issues, and there was some stress and things like that going on in my life. Still don't know what really caused all of this, but I started having really weird allergic reactions to any kind of food. Like I would eat a single almond and the underside of my face would swell up, my throat would close a little bit. And I would get so bloated it looked like I was 8 months pregnant. Like it was ridiculous. So this was for like foods kind of slowly started to like get checked off the list. So it happened with bananas, happened with white potatoes, happened with chickpeas, it happened with legumes, gluten, dairy, literally anything you name it, till it just kind of got smaller and smaller to the point where, I was like, I ain't eating anymore. So
like what can I eat at that
exactly.
point?
It was really it was really stressful, and it was hard. I was, at this point, while it had progressed, I was in high school, and I was just really struggling, as that is a weird time for every female to exist in their body anyway, on top of the fact that I was, I was in pain when I ate anything. I vividly remember there was one night I was downstairs with my family, and we had like baked potatoes for dinner, and I was like doubled over on the floor in pain, like sobbing, because I just like it hurt so bad. So it was hard at that point, and I had no idea what was going on. This is before I had access to like any, real homeopathic stuff. I was going to the doctors. I was driving up to Boston Children's like every weekend. They were doing a ton of tests on me, and they just couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong. So at that point, I started to develop pretty bad anorexia, and I got down to like 93 pounds. For reference, I'm 5'7". And they were very stern with me that, if this continued, I was not going to be around much longer.
Yeah.
And that lasted for, I would say, a good 6, 7, 8 months, where I started, it started off really as, okay, it hurts to eat anything. I'm having these allergic reactions. I'm so bloated when it comes to everything. Also, the caveat here is I also couldn't poop at all. Like, let's be real about it.
Yeah, not eating.
I was going like 3 weeks. It was not good. So I was just like, screw it. We're not doing this anymore. So the doctors were like, all right, you got to figure something out. And they threatened to send me to inpatient a couple of times. And I was like, I'm not doing that. At that point, I kind of convinced myself that there was nothing wrong with me and that this was a rational reaction to, you know, what I was going through. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear about that. So, I think the thing that really turned it around for me was I was working my summer job up here in Connecticut. One of my professors from high school came in and I was talking to her as I was checking her out at the register. She had no idea who I was, like none at all, just because I was very emaciated at the time. And something just kind of clicked in my head and I was like, oh, we gotta fix something. So at that point, I started trying to figure out recovery and navigate that on my own. And, you know, with the help of my parents and my friends that chose to stick around me in that time, it was really dicey. I developed binge eating disorder, of course, because I deprived myself from so long that my body was like, all right, give me everything. So that lasted for like a good year. And I remember waking up every single morning being like, when is this going to end? Like today's going to be different. And then it wasn't any different. And I don't know if you guys have had any experience with any of those sorts of things. I feel like it's, you know, there's a lot of women that have gone through a lot of different things for a number of different reasons in that sector. But it was really awful. I would almost say that was worse than any of the anorexia just because you feel so powerless in those moments.
Yeah.
But from there, I don't really remember exactly what happened or what I was doing. I was going to therapy at that time, doing all the right things, but I woke up one morning and I didn't binge, and then it just kept going. And then suddenly the way that I looked at food started to change a lot. It wasn't, I would say this was probably around like beginning of senior year of high school where I kind of had my act together a bit more. It was still not perfect. I was still having all those digestive issues because again, I made them worse by not eating and then eating too much. So you got to think about my gut microbiome was in disarray, to put it lightly. Like there was no sense of regularity there. I was still having issues with constipation to the point where they had prescribed me a prescription laxative that I was on and I couldn't get off of it no matter what I tried.
Yeah.
So then we moved into college and I started to kind of have things more under control. But at that point, I was still on that prescription laxative and I was still taking Docalax every single day, which again, terrible for your gut microbiome. And if you look back at all those old photos of me, I look so inflamed, like around my face, everything. Like it looked like I had so much swelling everywhere just because my body was constantly in a state of like, what are we doing? So like the only way I get, like when I think back on this, I laugh, but you know, through college and stuff, I was starting to get better. And that's really when I started to find bodybuilding a bit more. I was always active. I was a dancer for a very long time. So I was familiar with, you know, moving and, you know, for me, dance is kind of synonymous with posing and that, you know, the flow that you can do that in the choreography that you do. That's how I think about it. So I started to find that. And at that point, I got my first coach and we started very vaguely working on some of the gut health stuff, just with like a revamp of diet. And it helped a little bit, but I was still on those laxatives. And just going in chronological order here, when I started my first prep, it was really dicey. It did not go the way that I needed it to go. I was holding a ton of water. Again, my digestion was terrible. The minute we started to drop food, just all the same problems came back and I still couldn't eat much variety of things. Like it was like too much fiber was a mess for me. Like it was difficult. And I was prepping with somebody at the time and to be able to, and to see them like consistently dropping weight, that was screwing with my brain a lot. And that prep ended up becoming about somebody else and not me as well. So I also had a bunch of fake supplements in the mix there too that I didn't know were fake until the very end. So I looked like a water balloon on stage, but I still got up because I had already paid for the classes and I was going to go.
Yeah. Committed.
Yeah, exactly. But two, I was like, all right, I have put 21 weeks into this so far, might as well. And I was really disappointed with how everything went. But the fact that I wanted to do another show, I was like, oh, I might really like this. I might really love this sport. So we ended up fixing some things and I went and did nationals in 2023 in Texas. And again, way too small to be there. Oh my God. And throughout that, I was still having all that digestive stuff. But, you know, I got down to really low calories on that prep. I was doing like 2 hours of cardio a day on the Stairmaster. I was on zero carbs, zero fat, like, which again, all contributing to my like the gut microbiome not being good. So that was a much better experience as a show from like a bodybuilding standpoint. But when I came out of that, I parted ways with my coach for a number of reasons. Not somebody I wanted to continue that relationship with. And I found my new coach, Dane. And on that consult call with him, he said, if we do not fix your digestion, you are retiring this year from this sport. You can't keep going. He was like, there's your body's going to quit. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. So we started on it ended up being like an 8-month process of just revamping everything. So I didn't even do a reverse. I went right into a health phase, and my body, first of all, loved that. And it enabled me to grow a lot more once we started kind of getting the pieces in order. So when we looked at my labs, they were treacherous. My lipids were a mess. My T3 was completely tanked. And we had realized that I had Hashimoto's at that point. So that was something we also had to juggle with when it came to any digestive stuff. So Dane, I credit with 100%. I was not able to get off that prescription laxative for like 8 years. Couldn't do it. Every time I tried, nothing. And he was the one to do it for me. So praise be, he seriously, like that alone kind of changed my physique. So really it came down to that 8 months. We did a GI map. We looked at all the stuff that was not great in there. And like my gut lining was inflamed. I had an undergrowth of a bunch of bacteria. I had an overgrowth of a bunch of bacteria. So we did a whole gut protocol where I was training like 3 days a week just because my body was under so much stress while we were trying to heal. And it was a lot. It was kind of mentally like, oh, I really want to be in the gym and growing, but I knew that I had to do it. And now I'm a regular queen and don't even realize that. Like I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I lived like that. I really don't, because it was hell. And now having kind of the other side of it and being, not being bloated after every single meal, I can eat some dairy again without like being in shambles. I'm still gluten intolerant. That's fine. I'm not, but like I can have spinach again. I can have other varieties of foods and my body doesn't freak out on me. So it kind of was like getting a new lease on life. I think really around that point, like midway through 2024, my physique started to take shape a lot more because we'd fixed a lot of the internal stuff that was going on. And now we're here. And that was really a long-winded answer.
No, that's what girls need to hear, because it's not a quick fix.
Right.
It's not a laxative that you take and then, oh, you can poop again. Like, no, it really is doing all of the deep work. And for women, I mean, this is just a huge issue because there are a lot of women. I know even a friend of mine years ago, she was like, oh yeah, I poop like once every 2 weeks or something like that. Like, I'm like, that's not normal.
No,
Like,
not at all.
not normal. Like, to her, it was normal. Like, right, that's my normal, but that's actually not normal for you. And like, that's why your stomach is distended. Let's figure out what's going on. And it does take a lot of time. Like when my stomach was distended, I had to start doing similar things like the elimination diets. Like, all right, let's take some things out. What is, and test it and then, bring it back in. But even with that knowledge, like way back when, that was like the only knowledge that we have.
Right.
Now we have all this other data that we can pull. GI maps for one. I'm a huge advocate for that. I have a handful of girls that I'm like, hey, we need a GI map. We need a GI map. And it's not like, oh, my doctor's going to give me a colonoscopy. That's totally different. And I know that you think it's the same because, you're poop and everything. But like when you clean out the colon, there's no poop. We're not looking at the poop. They're just looking at the colon for cancer and et cetera, things like that. It's the poop that you actually are analyzing for the GI maps that people don't. Because you sent a stool sample, right? For your GI map.
That was a weird process. But I'm telling you, like, out of all the things that I think that we've done, this one piece of hair is doing whatever it wants. Out of all the things that was like the biggest thing. Like I will advocate for that until the day I die. And I think gut health in general is such a buzzword, especially in this community. People don't actually understand what that means, like at all. And especially for women, there are so many different products marketed at us to like fix your bloating and fix your gut health. And I feel like there is something coming out every single day. And if you just look at the root problem, you're often going to be able to find a quicker road and a more inexpensive road to recovery too. So I hope that that narrative can start to change at some point, and we start to take like real data at the forefront instead of, you know, looking at what greens powder is on the market today, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Were
you
you
mentioned
hesitant at all to get a GMAP because of maybe the cost of it, or?
Yeah, for me, for the amount of money that I spent on supplements, for the amount of money and the amount of like, on this is gonna sound so dramatic, but for the amount of pain I was in for years, like it was completely worth it to me. I mean, I spent the better half of my life, like I'm 23 for reference. I spent the better half of my life like not being able to go to the bathroom regularly. So this
Yeah.
was a no-brainer for me. And also, I like one of the biggest things that I was really insecure about back in the day was like when my face did start to swell up. Whenever I had, you know, those foods that were causing me any sort of, it was almost like an autoimmune reaction to everything I ate. Like that made me feel so awful inside that I was like, let's do something to fix this. Because I pride myself on being like a very confident, very forward person. But that was kind of the one thing. And I feel like everybody kind of has that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that to me, finding answers for that was going to be priceless.
Did,
So I would encourage people to do
yeah.
it.
Does anyone else in your family have gut digestion issues? It's just you.
Nope.
What do you think stemmed it all?
Your guess is as good as mine there. I think a lot of it probably came from stress at the time. I am a type of person that I'm very empathetic and I'd like to put myself in other people's shoes to the point where, you know, maybe it can be a little detrimental at times. I'm a Pisces. So I there was a lot of stuff happening in my life and in my family life at the time where I was, I'm trying to say this lightly here. It was a lot of heavy stuff, and I was just a little kid at that point, kind of internalizing all of this and not saying anything. And I was kind of felt like I had to be the peacemaker and like keep
Mhm.
everybody in line. And I assumed that role as the youngest here. And I think that honest to God, I internalized all that stress and it just manifested digestively. Because even to this day, if I get really stressed, if I'm really upset, like that will be the first thing to go. And after that, it will be my backlit. My body will tell me immediately when something is wrong. And I've just gotten better and better at listening to it. So they did all the tests. They did quite literally all the weirdest things in the world. Like at one point, this is definitely like the most embarrassing thing, but it's so funny. I remember being like 16 at Boston Children's, and there's a test that they do to test like the sphincter muscles of like your colon and your anus. So what they
Nice.
do is they literally like stick a balloon up there and they inflate it. And I remember like being on my side as a 16-year-old being like, what the fuck is my life right now? So like I've been through it all. And they didn't find anything conclusive for any of those. Stress is a very powerful player. It can do a lot to you. And I think that, you know, it probably started as stress and manifested into something that was a lot bigger. But even then, I was hesitant to admit, just like, you know what, maybe I need to be better at managing these things. I was so convinced that there had to be something physically wrong with me that I just overlooked that. And I got really upset when people almost said it was just stress. Now, looking back on it, being wiser, older, and having the experiences I do now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I just needed to learn how to manage stuff better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stress is something that I think most people still think is, I feel stressed.
Yep.
I'm stressed, or like I'm angry. Angry is stressed, or something like that, or frustrated is stressed. When really it's all the different, I've talked about this so many times with the speed pillars.
Yep.
It's everything that you're at, your sleep, your personal, your environment, your exercise, your diet. It's so encompassing that if maybe you're sleeping and someone's disrupting your sleep, that's stress. Maybe you're in an environment and you're living with your parents and you're trying to get out of the house and you're in a relationship with someone, right? That's stress.
Yeah.
Or you're just home on college break and you're in the summertime living with your parents still. That's stress. Like you don't realize it, but there are a lot of things that can stress you out. Traveling is definitely a huge stressor. Even though you think you're getting away, you're still stressing your body out.
Right.
By you're away from your routine, you're away from your things. So I think definitely older and wiser, you know, the more that we learn these things, you can definitely start to manage those things. Not like, oh, I'm not stressed out. It's not like a negative thing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, these things are stressing me out and I'm recognizing it. Maybe I can learn how to change it. For example, sleep stress, like my husband snores. He snores. When we first met, he snored. So we slept in separate bedrooms for a period of time. Then I slept with headphones for literally a year, and that hurt my ears so much. Then we ended up having him go to a sleep study. So he has a sleep CPAP machine, and that still makes noise. So I have to put earbuds in, or like the little loop earplugs
Yeah,
thing.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I love those things for sleeping. So you do have to just kind of like adjust and adapt, and that's how you manage things. Yeah.
Absolutely.
What advice do you give people not knowing the severity of it? Because yours is a very severe case, girl. Like, you were put through the ringer.
Yeah. It's definitely, I'm hesitant to really give people like strict advice. I'll have a lot of people that come to me and are like, hey, what should I do about X, Y, and Z? And I always, I think to our point earlier, I always say go back to the root problem. So I'll suggest the GI map. Or if they have a coach that they're working with, like ask your coach. If they can't give you a straight answer on that, they probably shouldn't be coaching you. And that was just something I learned from experience too. Because my first coach didn't bat an eye that I was still on laxatives, and that should have been a huge red flag that went off, because that can affect quite literally everything. So I will always suggest the GI map, and I will always suggest looking like, you do have to look at your diet. So, if somebody is coming to me and they're like, oh, I'm having all these processed foods, or I'm having an excess amount of fiber, that's something that I feel like people don't realize. Like, there can be too much. It's not the case with a lot of people, but like look at the types of food that you're eating. If you have a sensitive stomach, if you're in the early stages of healing any sort of gut lining or like the mucosal lining itself, you're gonna need to dial it back for a little bit, and you're gonna have to be okay with sacrificing some of those things. So, and I think to your point earlier too, Emily, this takes time. This takes a lot of time. This is almost, we're still going back in and changing some things. I think the past like 4 months have been the most stable I've ever been in my entire life, but we're still going back and forth a little bit. Changing things. So recognizing that, you do have to put the work in, you have to be okay with trialing and erroring it for, quite some time there.
And you're young, you're actually, I think, our youngest guest that we've had. And like, how do you deal with being so young and sticking to it? Right? Because I feel like there's so many things going on, right? All these events in college.
Yeah. So I've always just been kind of a person that's like, if I want to do something, I will do it and nothing will stop me.
Love.
That's just something that kind of been instilled in me from a young age. So I can take college specifically, because that's really when I started looking into bodybuilding itself. About freshman, maybe a little bit sophomore year, I was like, okay, let me do this whole college thing and go out and party. And I was in a sorority for one semester. That's all I lasted. But I was always a really active kid anyway. So exercise was something that was just instilled in me. And I was like, all right, what's the next step? How can I take this to the next level? Because I am competitive in some ways too. So I think I was looking for that and that next level of extremes too, because I'm an all or nothing kind of person. And in my opinion, bodybuilding is kind of an all or nothing sport. So when I was in college at first, I definitely did the going out. I did the partying, all that stuff. Did I go to the gym hungover a couple of times? Definitely. And that was like freshman year. And then sophomore year, somewhere along the line, I was like, you know what? I actually don't care about any of this at all. This is the thing I want to do, so I'm going to put all my energy towards it. And it kind of hasn't changed since. People will ask me, I remember doing job interviews for, my first job out of college. People were like, okay, how are you going to balance bodybuilding with work? And I had people in my life at that time telling me like, you're not gonna be able to do both of them. And I was like, fucking watch me. Like, it's not like, I want to do this. So it's not going to be something that's a problem for me. Like, all the things that you love, you're going to prioritize. And it's just something I've always put first. I don't feel like I'm missing out on things. Like, I will go with my friends and have a meal if I want to. But I mean, I like what I like. So if I'm going out to eat, like, I'm a big proponent of getting salmon when I go out to eat, because they do the nice little crunch on the outside.
Yes, yeah.
Really good. I can't do that myself. I haven't mastered. So like, I'll get something that's very sensible that I know sits well with me. I enjoy feeling good. And that is really what bodybuilding has brought me, is like, I feel good all the time. I'm very proud of the way I look. I'm very proud of the work that I put in. I'm proud of what I do. So it's much easier for me to want to stick to my goals when I'm like, all right, this is my life. I'm going to put everything into it because I want to go places with it.
You're hardcore. Me like
when you feel good, you look good. You're like, I just keep doing this.
Yeah, no, I mean, what you do on the inside, how you talk to yourself, all of that stuff is a direct translation of the outside. So that was, I think, something that I really had to work on too, along, circling back here to the gut health thing. A lot of that was, mental too, because when you're in pain for a long time, you're experiencing chronic pain, you get in a negative mindset. So I had to really work on going about correcting that for myself. So that came to like speaking really positively to myself and like, I can do this. I will go far. People will talk about manifesting and things like that. That's something that I'm now starting to dabble with, but really just like my own central voice had to change a lot. And then my life started to change a lot for the better. So there's a direct correlation to there with like inner health and that.
Yes. Yeah. I am huge about that. Like, speak it to existence, man. I mean, it does sound kind of like woo woo and all that, but like sometimes you need that, especially if you do come from a darker mindset. And you do have to push yourself and say, I can do this. Whereas before you were like, I'm not good enough. I never win anything. I'm never going to be healthy again. I'm never going to feel good again. When you come from that mindset, it is really empowering to be like, yes, I am going to win. I am going to do this. I am the best. Because you are the best at what you're doing, right? You're way better than you were back when you were 13 years old. And I mean, you've learned so much. So yeah.
Exactly.
Yep. Let's see. So let's dive into like more of the wellnessy side of things. What really inspired you and motivated you to compete in the wellness division?
That's a good one. I would say that, I think when I first started, I had this perception that I had like bigger legs naturally. I didn't, by the way, like at all.
That's
But
common.
I feel like that's common.
Yeah.
I thought that that's kind of where I trended. And I also just really loved like the shape and the flow. And like when you're sitting in the front pose, like that S curve, I was like, that is a sick physique. Like, I just want to have goddamn stallion legs. So that was something that was, so you get it. That was something that was really attractive to me about it. It kind of was that balance for me between being quite feminine, but also like being really strong and, being able to build the muscle that I need to be successful in the division. So I still wanted that something to chase and that's something to look forward to. And there's always more growing and there's always more glute to build. So that's kind of what got me started into it. I think I saw a picture of Francielle at that point, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what I want to look like."
In
like,
your
yes,
opinion,
copy paste.
Yeah, in your opinion, how much do you think genetics play into it? Like, are your family members into working out, and like, do they put on muscle easily? Are they lower body dominant?
Yeah, we put on. So my mom's side puts on muscle very fast. Like off season for me is prime time. Like I can grow. Cutting weight, different story. A lot of that has to do with like thyroid problems, but I got really lucky in the way, and even I noticed this in dance too. Like I was always really strong. I was always kind of like more bottom heavy than other people. And I think that it really took me until this year to kind of see that come to life shape wise, and really refine things a bit better. But I always kind of had the vision that like, okay, I'm gonna look like that. It's just gonna take me time. Like I was really young. I started when I was like 20. So I was young. The muscle maturity wasn't there either. And now we're finally kind of starting to get there because it just takes a good amount of time. I think a lot of times what I see personally, just in my own experience, again, I'm not a pro, I'm still an amateur, but just, being in the space for a long time, I'll see a lot of girls that maybe hold a lot more fat on their legs, think that they're wellness, but then they cut down a lot and it's like, oh shit, maybe I'm bikini, or maybe I'm a different division that just fits me a little bit better. So I think that your structure and your genetics play a really large role into that, and you're going to be working against the grain here if you try and do a different division that doesn't fit for it. Like, for example, I love the figure division. I think it's beautiful. I think it's sick. My legs are so short. I would not make it. Like I have so much torso and so little leg that it works really well for me in wellness, because it looks like if I put a pound of muscle on my quads, it's going to look huge, but I would look so disproportionate in figure. So if I wanted to pursue that, there's nothing stopping me, but I would be working a lot harder for a different result.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's funny. I'll have to put up the photo of Jaden and I side by side. We're both 5'7", y'all. We're both 5'7". And the funny thing about like anatomies, and everyone's different. Even if we're both 5'7", we look totally different. Her legs look so much bigger than my legs. It's ridiculous. Glutes about the same, but
I was gonna say, you got glutes on me for sure.
I mean, we got the glutes, but like her legs, so her legs are shorter, femurs are shorter. We measured, and I've got like, I don't even know, like 5 inches longer in my legs. It is ridiculous. And now I got the MRI back, so we know that my legs are just jacked up. This is just what they are. I have to modify everything.
I was gonna ask you about your knee with the MRI.
So my patella sits higher on the knee joint, and so it's just a little bit more painful for things like lunges and squats and leg presses. And I was doing hack squats, deep as shit, not banded, heavy, multiple reps. I was doing the Wellness glorified front foot elevated reverse lunge on a Smith machine. That thing, I would just go as far deep as I possibly could. Bulgarians, I did Bulgarians like 1.5 reps. This was all post show. I was doing all of this, which hindsight 50-50, I would always give yourself like a deload after prep, because you're in a deficit. Like everything is just a little bit more sensitive. So yeah, we pushed it a lot, and now I'm going to be working with physical therapists, and I think we just need to shorten the range of motion of things, and we'll see. I'm kind of TBD what I want to do, like competing wise, just because it's hard to grow quads, and it's been hard recently, and that's what I need. So we'll see. TBD if I stay wellness.
Well, honest to God, like that's a lot to have to, like get your pro card and then pivot all the way after there. But like props to you for listening to your body for that, because like that's a hard way to be. And also you don't want to be in pain while you're doing the thing you love, which is training. So like, that's tough.
Yeah. I just got so frustrated, like you, right? Like I don't want to be in pain for the rest of my life. And I do want to continue to do the things that I love to do. So how do I do that?
Right.
So yeah, we just pivot, we adapt.
Yeah. Sure.
But going back to Jaden,
I had to know.
Yeah, going back to Jaden, your shape, because I'm just looking at Instagram and everything. Like I just love the shape. I think your anatomy is really good for wellness, like you said, because the long torso, the shorter legs, and your height class too. You're gonna look a little bit different than most girls in that height class, so you do have an advantage. So that's why I'm very excited to see your next show. Can you tell us any details on your next show or shows?
Yeah. So we were gonna compete this year, and then I had a long talk with my coach the other week about, like, it was like a 2-hour phone call, and he was like, I don't think you're ready. He was like, from a health standpoint, like we're still working on some Hashimoto stuff, which is like, it's in a good spot now. Don't get me wrong. But he was like, we just did so much work on this. Do you want to undo it? He's like, I can do that. I can push and we can get that done. But is that something you want to do? And I was like, honestly, if you don't think it's a good idea, I hired you for that. I hired you to know, like, I'm going to trust your judgment here. And also more time is not going to be bad. So 2026, you will see me for sure. Because I'm getting a little impatient, but having 3 years really off the stage to just build a physique that I can walk on stage and be like, oh, that walks and talks like a pro. Like, that's what I want. I don't want to show up there as a good amateur. I want to show up there looking like a good pro. And if that means more time, then time it is. And I feel like I'm starting to make a ton of progress with my physique too. I also have a herniated L5 S1, gives me a lot of issues on my left side. So working through a bit of that, like my left glute sometimes will just completely seize up. I'll be walking like with a little pimp walk here just because my glute is so tight. So we had to work through a couple of those issues too. So just all things considered, it was better for us to wait and just keep building. So now I have not done like a proper growing phase in 2 years. And now we are, as of last week, started a proper growing phase. So excited, getting fed a bit more, doing all the good stuff, and just getting to train too, I think is really good. Cause when it boils down to it, like I need more glute to be competitive. I need a lot more upper glute, and more as everybody does. So I'm looking forward to it.
We love glutes though. We love training glutes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm getting that too. Like my left glute is so tight. Do you do obviously foam rolling is great to do on your own, but do you do any regular massage?
Yes. So I have a massage therapist here in Connecticut. His name is Garrett, and he's a homie G. I see him like once a week or once every other week, and those are my favorite sessions because they're like 2 hours of me just being in agony, but we're also like shooting the shit back and forth. It's great.
Yeah.
But he's helped me a lot when it comes to just opening up that left side. We discovered there's a lot of like hip flexor issues in there, and my adductor I can't remember which one it is. It likes to just kind of take over my glute movement, so I have a hard time engaging that left side to begin with. Like when I do my back pose, my right glute I'm really happy with how it looks. You can see the full tie-in, like she's there. My left side, no. And it's just because I have a massive knot that sits in my high hamstrings, and it will we are still working to get that out. So it makes it look like my glutes are uneven. And I had a full crash out to my coach. I was like, what if I don't have muscle there? It was like, you do. It's just locked. Like it's completely locked up because my piriformis on that side is constantly a little angry. So a part of it is the job that I work now. I'm driving a lot during the day, like going on sales calls. So I've started to drive with a lacrosse ball under my left butt cheek, and I like massage it while I drive because I'm in the car for like 3 or 4 hours. Like I can't be sitting that long. So making it a point to keep that loosened up, getting the body work done, any sort of, sauna or hot tub or anything I can do to just kind of supplement my recovery. I'm also like very militant about my sleep. I go to bed at like 9. So just kind of doing all those things has kind of helped keep the injury at bay there.
Yeah. I used to have a lacrosse ball. Well, I still have it. Whenever I drive and do the long trips, when I would drive to see Bradley, 2-hour drive, I'm like, I need to dig in. I would like get into my lat. I would get into my glutes. Like it's amazing. Yeah. I love that.
It's definitely something. The other thing that I got to implement, I've seen people do this, is having a TENS unit and using that while you drive. Like I've seen girls do that before. Like my friend Jill, who's in Tampa, shout out Jill. She puts the TENS unit on her glutes before she goes and trains them. So they're like already kind of pre-activated while she's sitting in the car. And I was like, I want to try that. That sounds really cool. So something.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I like it.
Different stuff.
Yeah. All right. I'm just looking at her questions. Do you have any questions, Elisabeth? Yeah.
Yes. Geez, that's a tough one. There's kind of been a number. So despite being a dancer, I'm not a graceful human being. Like on stage in any capacity, I can lock in and I can do it there. Other than that, like I will be bumping into stuff. I will be tripping. Just unfortunate things that happen to me. So this will probably take the cake. But this was like year of college. I don't even know when. I must have been like new because we all went to JMU, so we remember you. Right? Yeah, I was trying to fit into a pair of Gymshark shorts that were definitely too small for me at the time, and I got really lucky because this happened in the hallway walking to the gym. But I like took a step and I just felt the whole inseam go. And I was like, you're kidding me. So I was like going in, and this is like the new UREC. So it was the hallway and then the gym's right there. Luckily, there's a bathroom like right on that side. So I just like peeled in there. And I usually keep an extra like gym set with me just in case. Cause I'm like, what if something happens to me? I don't know. But I had a sweatshirt with me. So I just tied that bitch around my waist and worked out like that the rest of the time. But I was so freaking paranoid. So that was probably like the most traumatic thing because that must have been like 2 months into school. Like I was new there. And also that was COVID year. So everybody was like in masks. So it was a little less embarrassing. But other than that, like the gym I go to now, we have a ton of equipment. It's a lovely, lovely gym. Jack's is like my favorite place ever, but everything is really close together. So I like will be banging into stuff as I'm trying to get to like machines. I've tripped on the Stairmaster before, and there's like a metal pipe that sits above it. Like you name it, I've probably done it. Again, not a very graceful individual.
That's funny. And I don't know what happened, Elisabeth, but yours, the recording ended on your screen. So like if I don't know what's going to happen in the recording, but it may cut you out of it. We'll see. It popped up on my screen. It said something about your browser. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So gluten. Oh no, we're good. Gluten altogether, I cannot do. Just I'm not celiac, like I can be around it, but it does not sit well with me. At one point when I first got with Dade, he put sourdough on my plant, and I tried like a nibble of it, and I was like, nope, absolutely not. Like within a couple minutes, my throat will start to swell up and it'll get really itchy. And if I know there's like a term like being glutened, like if you go out to a restaurant and you have gluten, like I can tell within a couple minutes. Because it tastes really different to me, and I'll know what's about to happen. So that's like the number one. The other thing that I can't really do still is legumes of any sort. So like chickpeas. That was the first food that really set me off like all those years ago. Still can't have it. Don't know why.
No hummus.
No, I can't do it, which is a shame because hummus is really freaking good. I think those two would be the biggest. I can do dairy in increments. I don't really like to. The only thing I'll really dabble with is like feta cheese or something like that. But I mean, as far as things go, my diet when I developed a lot of these allergies kind of already lended itself to a bodybuilding lifestyle. So it was really easy for me to just kind of hop into it. Like there was no adjustment there for me. It was just like, oh, I weigh my food now, and that's easy.
Yeah. What about vegetables? Do you have to avoid any specific vegetables or?
Yeah, so broccoli, cauliflower, still not good for me. They're also my least favorite, so that's fine.
Yeah.
But I stick to a lot of green beans, a lot of zucchini, asparagus. I can use spinach now. I have that in my diet too. I try and cook most of the vegetables that I do have just because it's a little easier for my digestion to break them down. I find that if I'm eating like a lot of raw vegetables like I was back in the day, not good. So, and anything that has like, what is it, cruciferous vegetables. So I just pretty much steer clear from those, and it's not something that I really love anyway. So I find that just there's a lot of gas with that, and a girl don't eat that.
Girl, I'm right on the same train as you. Like I don't want that gas. I don't want that bloatiness. And it's funny because I did have some raw veggies over vacation and hummus, and I was like, this is like a quick, girl lunch, whatever, kind of reverting back to my old days. And then my stomach did not handle it as well as I do with my green beans and my cooked green peppers. Like everything's cooked for me. Yeah. And it definitely, it sounds similar. So I like to hear that because, I mean, it is similar to a bodybuilding diet and what I kind of coach my girls on that have following gut protocols. So
yeah,
it's good that we are aligned.
No, for sure. And I think a lot of what Dane did for me too, when we looked at my diet, is I was eating the same meal over and over again for like 4 or 5 days at a time. And he was like, where's the variety in this? And I was like, I don't know. So that was a lot of what we put in there. We did so I have like a lot of weird stuff in my diet right now. Like I've got macadamia nuts, I've got coconut oil, I have flaxseed oil, I have a ton of berries, I've got pear juice. A lot of my carbs are coming from like juices, they're coming from fruit, they're coming from sweet potato. We took out a lot of the rice and the cream of rice, and I don't know, my body likes that better. Like my waist got real tight without it. We've been on this for a couple months now, and things have just been better. So, not to say that those things are bad, but just for me personally, after like trialing and airing it for such a long time, that's just something that works a little better. So as annoying as it is sometimes to buy pear juice from the store and look at the price tag, it's working good. It's like $9 for no reason.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even think I've ever seen pear juice at a grocery store.
Oh, I had to like get on my hands and knees, like look in the back of the shelf to find this stuff at first.
Yeah, like, sir, where's the pear juice?
Yeah, people are like, that hasn't been touched in years.
They're like, that doesn't exist.
But like, it's funky, it's weird, but it works, and I will take it.
Yeah. Are you using juices like post workout, or what is the?
Yeah. So the morning for me is I have a smoothie in which pear juice is there. So it used
Mm-hmm.
to just be the smoothie, but now I've got some eggs with it as well, just because we're in a surplus. And then I'll do like a sweet potato meal, and then I'll have another iteration of that smoothie. Um, and like my pre-workout meal has like 90 grams of carbs in it. Like she's hefty. So
Nice.
we'll do that, and then from there after it's like two other just regular meals with like some sort of lean meat and vegetable of sorts, and fat source. But there's a lot of different variety in there, and now getting to the point where I can do that without my digestion just freaking out on me is really nice, because I mean, honestly, it used to cause me a lot of anxiety just because I didn't know how I was going to react one day or another. So having some
Mm-hmm.
sort of consistency is really, it's nice. It's a gift.
Yeah. And a little bit of variety too, because I mean, you were like, oh, what can I eat? So you only eat those certain things.
Yep.
And then it's like, well, now I'm only eating these certain things and I'm not getting all the micronutrients and everything
Yeah.
from other things. And, but you're probably too scared to add in something because you're like, I don't want to add in something if
Yep.
it's going to hurt me. And so it's good. It's good that, you know, twofold, like you're open to trying and that your coach is also willing to kind of push you and give you that guidance in that direction of, all right, let's do some variety, because bodybuilding diets are very mundane and boring, and yes, we eat the same things, but I mean, I'm even like, hey, I need a little variety, like can I do this? Variety is good to have in your diet, especially after like just going through a gut health protocol,
Right.
for sure. I do really like talking about diet. But one things I do want to talk about would be your training and like how your training's been. I think you said before you were doing 3 days a week for your health protocol. Are you doing any more? What's your split like?
Yeah, so we actually recently just changed it. So that 3 day stint basically was for that 8 months where I was in that intense gut protocol, and then we slowly ramped it up to 5 days. At that point, I was having two upper days, and then we scaled that back to just one. So now what we're doing is, of course, legs 3 times a week, and then that upper day is real short. Um, I kind of have what I need there. I genetically have really large lats. So we don't need to grow those anymore. I just need I just need some of that. I store a lot of fat on my back, so like we need that to come up a little bit just to see kind of what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I could always use a little bit more delt, but we're not. My upper body grows like a weed. If I look at it, I will sprout, and I don't need that. So when it comes to lower body, and my other thing is I'm really big on rest days now. I used to not be like that, but all your growing is done during your rest days.
Yeah.
And, utilizing that recovery. And once I started to prioritize that a little bit more and be okay with like, okay, I'm sore today, let me take the extra rest day. Then I started growing more, which is super counterintuitive, I feel like, for a lot of people, but just kind of taking that and recognizing it. So I've got the 3 leg days a week. One of them is hamstring and glute focused. One of them is purely glute focused, and then the other one is quad and glute focused. So the emphasis here is on glutes, as most ones are. And I connect really well to pretty much every single muscle group in my legs, except for just that left glute gives me some issues. So that's been the main focus.
What are your like top glute exercises that you like doing right now?
I'm a big hip thrust girly. If you get them right, real good. There's the glute builder machine, the one that like moves with you. It's really heavy for no reason, but it's
So heavy.
like
It literally breaks my wrist. Like one time I put 2 plates on that shit and I don't know what I was doing. I was like underhand, I don't know.
yeah.
And I could not put pressure on my wrist for like a few hours.
No, I don't know how they built it. It was like, but it's heavy.
It's heavy for no reason.
I
But
like
it.
But yeah, so definitely that. Any sort of like step up lunge variation, I'll do those on like the V squat sometimes and just use that and sit like way far back into that glute and just use it to come up. Really like those a lot. And then I'm trying to think of what else here. Oh yeah. I guess a glute medius kickback. Before I really couldn't get the activation I needed off of them, but once I adjusted my foot placement a little bit more and like brought the actual like cable stack up more, for me that worked better. So a lot of it for me is like figuring out my proportions too, because I do have really short legs. Just figuring out what works, what can I feel the most, because I'm a proponent of if I can't feel the movement, it shouldn't be in my program.
Yeah.
If I can't connect, then how neurally am I going to get any sort of like firings to that? So I'm a big proponent of that. But the other thing too is I've had to prioritize warming up my glutes a lot more just because of my back too. Because if I don't, it will take over and I will get a lot of lower back pain. And again, a girl don't need that. So
I feel like that's common with wellness is back. I mean, we're trying to build our glutes. So you're gonna have the back working
Right.
at some point. Like you can't get out of that. Like it's gonna be working. But it is interesting that we do have to be a little bit more purposeful and maybe like switch things a little bit. Like you were saying with the V squat, maybe using that. And even, you know, like leg press, maybe doing a leg press instead of a squat to not even use your back at all to get that granular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like switching it up a lot, I think has been really beneficial. And just like trying different movements, training with different people. I love doing that. Like other wellness competitors, just to see like, oh, what are you doing? How are you connecting? What cues do you have that I could possibly use? I think there's a lot of good stuff out there. And part of the thing I love so much about the sport is I've been able to learn so much from so many people. And it never stops. So I am so aware of the fact that I have so much more to grow. I have so much more to learn. And there's so many people that I have access to that I'm able to do that with, which is really cool.
Yeah, we're a little wellness girly gang, our little network of people. And
it's great.
I find that just everyone is just so welcoming and helpful. Most people are welcoming and helpful. You know, like we're all just trying to be better and we're all just trying to be our best.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, we're in competition, so it's easy to look at other girls and be like, oh, you know, I want that, whatever. But it's also so easy to say, girl, you look great.
Yep.
Like, tell me how you did that. Let's train together instead of hating on the girl because, you know, so I love that. And that was really cool when I met you or saw you at RVA Fit Day because I knew you were going to be there. And I'm like, I need to find Jaden. Where is she at her booth? And then we saw you at the gym later that day and kind of chatted. And you were talking about, I think you were leg pressing like 6 plates or something ridiculous. You were like, finally, yeah, you're slowly like getting your weight up finally again. And that was just really cool to see.
No, that's one thing is like I actually had to work on toning back some of the weights that I was doing because I got yelled at for it. When I talked to my coach, he was like, because I'll send him training videos and he's like, why are you doing that? Just because you can does not mean you should. Because like I can hack squat like 5 or 6 plates doesn't like with good form, mind you. That does not mean I should be doing that because at what point there's got to be like a bell curve here. At what point is that actually productive for my growth? And at what point am I just doing it to do it because I can and like risking myself injuries? When it came to hip thrusting, like again, I can do 5 or 6 plates, but I'm like I won't go really above 2.5, 3 at this point because I want to get a good squeeze. I want to get a good connection. And also like I'm going to protect my back. And I have made more progress that way than I have putting up crazy numbers because that's not the point. They're not going to ask you on stage, like, what do you hip thrusts? Like they don't care. So I'm going for a result here.
Elisabeth can speak to that. I was exactly at RVA Iron and she was, I think you were 4 plates hip thrusting and you were just using your back the entire time. I was like, girl, where do you feel that? She's like, my glute ? And I was like, do you feel it in your glutes?
Like, are they all?
So we knocked that down and I showed all the girls. I mean, it is a very common thing though, because I was just like you, Jaden and Elisabeth. I mean, barbell hip thrust, 5 plates, 5.5 plates. It's how heavy I got to my max. And I was like, dang, this is cool that I can do this and hold it at the top for 6 reps, 8 reps. I was like, what? You know, it's cool. But then you get to the point where it's like, yeah, but are my glutes actually growing? Because they weren't. And now what you were saying with the kickback adjustment, I've been doing that too. And my upper glute is just like, she's there.
Yes.
She's there. Because the kick back or kick down and then back movement is getting that upper glute stretch.
Yeah. No, it's a game changer.
Yeah, game changer.
Yeah. So I'll usually warm up with any sort of like, you know how glute activation was like a whole big thing and people use the bands and stuff like that. I went back to that and it's helped me a lot. Like people can say what they want about it, but I've done like kickbacks with the band. I've done like I always make sure to do some squats and stuff like that just to make sure that I'm like, even if it's not like priming my glutes, it's turning my mind on so I can think about them. And for me, like a very like mentally driven person, so like I have to have that engaged before anything else. So using that, I'll do any sort of like 45-degree extensions too, and I'll angle them. Like I'll keep my feet super wide and bend my knees a bit to get a lot of glute activation. So I'll do that sometimes as well. And before all of my movements, I'll always do like 2 or 3 feeder sets and just make sure that like, again, I'm just getting the movement primed and ready. Like I will, even if I'm already warm, I will warm up on that set. Yeah.
Yeah. Super good advice. Speaking of advice, all right, we'll wrap this thing up here. What advice would you give to aspiring wellness competitors or female competitors in general?
I would say take the time to build a foundation is going to be the most important one, because this is a long game. You got to make sure that, you know, everything internally is working right before you hop on into a prep. And you also want to make sure that like you have enough muscle that you're not going to lose it all when you go into a prep. So play the long game, know in your brain, like, this is what I want to get to, this is where I'm going, but be patient with yourself, especially like, I think being young, I have to remind myself of this too. Like, hey, I've got time. Like I'm 23 and, you know, I've only competed twice. I have so much more time to build the physique that I want. And I know it's coming. It just, you got to be patient for it, but put in the work internally and externally before you hop in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good advice. I mean, it does take time. It takes time. And I mean, depending on like where you're at in your life, if you're 23, you're, you know, we're out of college, we're in our young adult life, we're working a job, like, yes, you can still do like your goal, your hobby, and manage work and life. I mean, you're only just going to keep working from there. You're going to have a job to support your expensive bodybuilding hobby. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, to your point about like, you're gonna have to find a way to support it too. Like I use, you know, my socials and stuff like that as kind of like supplemental to just support bodybuilding. And then I have a full 9 to 5, and that is what I do to, you know, support my future. So I think there is a way to be all in on this sport, but also all in on other parts of your life too. It's not, you kind of do have to make the choice of like, okay, this is the thing I want to pursue. And like for myself, I have lofty goals. Like, you know, I know eventually I will be a really good pro. And that's eventually, that can be on whatever timeline, but that's what I'm working towards. And I want to walk and I want to talk like that. And, you know, I want to make it to the Olympia. Like I really do. I don't know when that's going to be, but that's where I know in my heart that I want to be. So I'm going to do all the things I need to do to support that. And right now that means, you know, like you said, bodybuilding is really expensive. So I work my full 9 to 5. That also gives me a little bit of, you know, time where it's like, I'm not just constantly marketing myself and marketing my bodybuilding, because that can be a lot of pressure too. I want to enjoy this because I really enjoy it, not because I feel like I have to, you know?
Yeah.
So, different ballgame.
Yeah. Do you have any like requirements with your social media, like posting, anything? Does that ever like get to you, stress you out? Because I know you said, so you use your influencing social media to support your bodybuilding. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'm sure girls are interested in that.
No, for sure. So that actually this was all a happy accident. In college, I had posted a reel because I was like dabbling in social media, and I always, at one point, I was a professional event photographer and videographer, so like I dabbled in this kind of stuff for a while. And I put up a reel of just like a transformation, and it ended up, I think now it has like 6.1 million views or something like that, and that just like made my account go haywire. And then I started getting brand deals from that, and I was like, okay, time to learn about this, because again, I'm 21, I have no idea what I'm doing at the time. I don't know how to negotiate a contract. What is and it was kind of like this daunting experience where, looking back on it now, I would have done things so differently, but I didn't, and it was a good learning experience. I think a part of social media, and I don't think anyone who's in my position wants to admit this, is getting lucky. I got lucky. I don't think, like, of course, people have really good ideas all the time and things like that. But there is a time and a moment, if you just keep pushing stuff and you keep pushing stuff, that the algorithm will be like, I see you, and will skyrocket your post. And that is what will get you there. So from there, I had a couple brand deals, and then I reached out to my supplement sponsor, who I've been with for 3 years, just celebrated 3 years with them, Nova Farm. And I said, hey, I really like your stuff, been using it for a year. Would you take me on? And they said yes. They helped me tremendously when it comes to preparing for my shows and being able to, actually compete. So I'm forever grateful for them. And I think really just keeping true to those relationships. I always try and stay with brands if I can. If I like their product, I would encourage people not to sell out. It's tempting. There is a lot of money in this. I personally don't make a lot of money from this, but I have friends that do. But a lot of it comes from being consistent, and you have to be authentic on there. So my content from when I started is way different from what I'm doing now, because what I'm doing now is more geared towards bodybuilding. It's more geared towards, this is my physique. This is what I'm currently building. This is my workshop. This is what I'm working on. That wasn't it before. And that changed my demographic a lot. And that's something I'm still navigating. So I've got, to answer your actual question, I have some requirements and stuff for posting that I do for brands, but a lot of it for me is, I know that I need to post at least like every other day or every 3 days minimum, just to keep, things engaged, things active. So that comes for taking content for myself. And a lot of what I do is like posing stuff. And that's easy for me because I pose every single time after I work out, even like cardio and stuff. So I'll just film those sessions and put them up, because I like doing a little editing on CapCut. I like finding the music. That stuff is fun for me. It's very stress relieving. I treat it like that. And then I just have my calendars built out of when I need to do stuff for certain brands. And that satisfies my requirements, keeps things in check there. The goal, obviously, for me this year is, of course, to keep growing. I will say there was a time, I think it was more or less like 2022, 2023, that year, those 2 years of my life where social media, though it was my main job at the time, was kind of put on the back burner for external reasons. And there was different pressures on me to perform in a certain way that I, looking back on it, I wish I didn't, kind of concede at that. Ended up being for other people were in the driving seat and not me. I didn't like that. So now kind of taking myself from a different position there and being like, all right, what do I want to post? What do I want to do? And the people that want to follow me and want to follow my journey will find their way here. And that has to be good. That has to be good enough for me, because the minute the stuff stops being fun, it's not worth it.
Yep.
It's a super long-winded answer.
No, you actually said something that Nicole Wilkins said, and it's still a YouTube, I'm sure it's still a YouTube video. When I first started wanting to do bodybuilding, I wanted to be in a figure division, and I get in the figure division. Nicole Wilkins was one of the pros that I was looking at, because she had a YouTube and she had documented her experience of going to Olympia and all that. And she said, when it starts to not be fun, that's when I'm done.
Yep.
Because, they always ask, like, all right, when are you going to be done? When are you going to be done? Like Sebum and Sid and all that. It's just when it's not fun anymore, it's like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I believe that too,
100%. I think pertaining to social media and in bodybuilding, like, because the sport itself is like, oh, you're being judged on your physical appearance. Like, some people, if you don't have a thick enough skin, can take that in the wrong direction. So if that's not something that's fun for you, then this maybe isn't for you. If, marketing yourself on social media, if those hate comments and things like that get to you, this is probably not for you. So you have to take into account your own like mental state. And again, if it is fun for you to do this kind of thing in the first place, because I mean, it's not lost on me that some people don't want that. But there is a lot of opportunity, and there's still more to capitalize on. So if that's something you feel comfortable doing, I would recommend it to anybody.
Yeah. Really good points. I love that. I love you. It was so good catching up with you. It's just like, Dude, like we never skipped a beat.
Yeah.
Jaden, why don't you just tell everyone where they can find you, if you're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where are you at?
Yes. So my Instagram is Jaden K Fit. That's where I'm most active. I also have a TikTok, same handle, haven't used that in a little while, but I'm getting back into it. And then, yeah, those are pretty much my two main platforms. Instagram, again, is my most active. But thank you guys so much for having me. This was so much fun. I miss you both. Hopefully, I'll make it back down to Virginia here pretty soon. And we can all get a training session in.
Yeah, definitely. Have a Wellness Girlie Gang meetup.
Yes.
Glute day.
Yes, needed.
Well, thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Wolfpack, gear built for life on the move. From backpacks, duffel bags, to meal management bags, Wolfpack keeps you ready for the gym, travel, and everything in between.